Meanwhile, in eastern Ukraine, Russian forces continue to redeploy to a future assault position somewhere between now and May 9th, because of the significance of May 9th on the Russian historical calendar, as that being their day for VE Day, for Victory in Europe Day, the day that the Germans surrendered. For in the West, it was still May 8th, so that's the reason it was past midnight, and it was May 9th in Russia, and that date is looming, is it not? So a little less than a month away. Putin is big on dates. And I think it's really, really obvious that as he reassesses, as he realizes that there's 20,000 fewer young Russian men in his uniform, and that's the dead. You know, for every tank that's burnt out with a crew of 3, driver, gunner, loader, driver, gunner, commander, because they have auto-loading cannons. For every one of those, it's not automatically 3 dead guys. There's loads and loads of Russians are wounded. Many of them are in Ukrainian hands and Ukrainian hospitals, but many hundreds, if not thousands, of them were evacuated by the Russians. They're just not going to be back in Moscow or wherever they came from until they're fully healed. They're not going back that way. They don't do that. They don't get bad news. As for the 20,000 plus KIA that the Russians have lost, if they're what are called contract soldiers, what you would call regular in the American military, their moms or their wives or sweethearts, whatever, they might get a notification. There may be a death benefit, but as far as a body goes, they're probably not going to be getting a body. So he has to reassess. And one of the things that he's reassessed, according to the London Times, as they speak with British intelligence, is that he has been badly served by the people closest to him in the intelligence community, and that he's fired or arrested up to 150 people that were supposed to be giving him an honest assessment of what was going on the ground. And in part of that reassessment is the assignment to a overall commander for what is going to be a very conventional, very brutal offensive that probably the U.S. Army was built for in 1986 or 87 in this country that used to be called West Germany. But what the Russians are about to unleash on Ukraine is probably what they avoided doing on February 24th because it was too expensive. But now that they see what losing looks like, they're going to do to Ukraine from the east to the Dnieper River, at least. They're going to do what we thought they were going to do in West Germany. And so in comes a classically trained old Russian general who we're nicknaming the Butcher of Syria. But
General Alexander Dvornikov is the man who's now in charge of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, according to a U.S. official. General Dvornikov previously led Russian forces in Syria, where Russia's been accused of committing war crimes by the United Nations, with airstrikes targeting civilian areas.
Like hospitals.
General Dvornikov's appointment follows a catalogue of Russian military failures. Russian forces were defeated in the battle for Kyiv.
So you get you get a flavor for his strategic art. He is the one who, they didn't deploy like a lot of Russian army guys to Syria, but they did deploy a lot of air assets because his strategy was, let's cut out the middleman. Let's pinch our pennies here. Let's bomb the hospitals, because if you bomb the hospitals, you kill the doctors. And if you kill the doctors, they can't heal people. And so they set about doing that. Never mind that deliberately targeting a hospital is, literally on page 1 of List O war crimes. It worked. He got results. He got Syria to depopulate. And so he may not be the Butcher of Syria. I'm going to go ahead and say that's Assad. That's Dr. Bashar Assad, ophthalmologist. Thank you very much. So he gets the title, but this guy could be a Butcher of Syria, because there are many. But he was the one who had the power and the vision, nay, the inspiration to not use the Russian Air Force to bomb Assad's armed enemies, but rather bomb the hospitals where the armed enemies are healing up. And the result was millions of Sunni Arab Syrians fled to Germany, fled to Poland, fled to Europe. And that was killing two birds with one stone as far as Putin was concerned. And he's like, destabilize Europe and un-Sunni Syria for my friend Bashar Assad? What's not to like? And you know the deal. Well, you know, you don't question success. Of course this guy's going to do this to Ukraine. But now he gets to throw in all of the conventional power that the Russian army couldn't use in Syria, and they couldn't use in 1986 because they went bankrupt by 91, and they were selling their boots and helmets in Berlin. Back in a second, AM 770 KTTH, Brian Suits here. So looming probably in the next few weeks is when the Russians reconsolidate and start cross-leveling their guys and seeing who survived and bringing more in from the east. I saw a video yesterday of Russian Marines. They're called naval infantry. And they were just outside of Ukraine. They were in the city of Rostov, and they were standing on their vehicles, long line of trucks and wheeled armor vehicles. And as the Russian guy in his car is driving past shooting video, every guy looked absolutely in the tank. They looked like they knew what they were getting into. That no one, the lies about we thought we were going to a training exercise. These guys absolutely were staring back at this guy's camera, and nobody was holding up three fingers. No one was going thumbs up. No one was going okay sign, waving. No one smiling. No one saying death to Nazis. None of that. No Smrt Nazi. None of that. None of that. They all look like they knew exactly what meat grinder they're going into. Pretty crazy. But the big difference is this is your takeaway here for the 12th of April 2022 before this all kicks off, probably in 3 weeks or so, because these guys are exhausted. Whoever survived the failed thrust towards Kiev, which was supposed to overthrow Zelensky in the first 48 or 72 hours. The ones who survived that are telling other Russian soldiers what they went through. They're wearing it on their face. They're exhausted. They were badly treated. They in turn treated the Ukrainian people horribly. And that kind of thing spreads like a disease in a military outfit. In a bad morale spreads like this current variant of COVID. And the Russian plan is to just go back to the basics and do a basic ground assault. And their most fundamental war aim here is to break away the majority ethnic Russian parts of Ukraine. And by the way, they're not talking about this, but the Ukrainians that they took out of the country are ethnic Russians. And they're being taken out of the country, and I think it's fairly clear that they want all ethnic Ukrainians to get to the west of the Dnieper River, and if they disagree, the Russian army is coming like a steamroller, like classic Russian army, without any regard to their own casualties or you in front of them, your house, your cat, your kids, whatever. And the one planning consideration that the Russians are not making here is that the Ukrainians have the ability to see what the Russians are doing on the ground, unlike any other time Russia's ever been to war. They when they're planning, they're pulling out Grandpa's playbook from 1945, and they're saying, park the artillery, hub to hub, put them all in the same angle of fire, and just give them the same digits. And we'll push the Nazis back to Berlin and the whole thing. What they're unaware of is that by the time they're ready to do this, there's going to be NATO aircraft orbiting over Romania that are going to know, literally, down to the half meter, what every vehicle is and where it is. And the Ukrainians are going to have in their possession handheld systems that can shoot out of a tube, orbit around for an hour, find something to kill, and kill it. And the guy's going to be operating it like an Xbox. And they're not thinking of that part, because at some point, you understand, at some point they have to cross the Russian border into a place that's still sovereign Ukraine. They have to move up to a position where the artillery can work, can actually range its targets. And the second they do that, it's a war. And the Ukrainians get a vote. And the Russians are, I guarantee, no one is raising their hand in the tent saying, hey, I just had this weird thought. What if the Ukrainians disagree that we're going to invade and push them to the west bank of the Dnieper River? Sorry, Captain. You're now Master Sergeant Tenpegovsky. Sorry, it's not happening. I guarantee to you, it's not happening. So new commander, whatever. Best of luck. Putin, any award Putin gives you, he can take away. He can hang on to it as he pushes you out of a fifth-story window. All right, well, tomorrow is, I don't use the H word, but it's that day, and I'm going to take my little printout of all the consumer price indexes, or indices, I should say. I'm sorry about that, indices, and we'll talk about the fallout from today. The president's announcing lifting EPA rules so that your ethanol can go up to 15% in your gas. And I never read the list. We'll do it tomorrow. Lots of places get ethanol-free gas in the Pacific Northwest and the Seattle area, and so do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go down to empty and go find some ethanol-free gas, and I'll report back tomorrow. All right, thank you very much, everyone.